Psychotechnologies Live. Welcome to a interesting and a new episode of Psychotechnologies Live. We are discussing power in the metamodern world. So there's all throughout history, there's been all these discussions on power. You get like Machiavellian, so it's iron glove, velvet, or iron fist, velvet glove, like kind of like manipulative, but also strong. My favorite power discourse is J.R.R. Tolkien's A Song of Ice and Fire, which people know as Game of Thrones, which is very much like I saw this lens of how to see it, and it's very much a power discourse. So it's like all these like factions, they all believe power comes from different places, and then they live in the world, and then they have these power struggles. This is like post that. So if J.R.R. Tolkien is like pre-modern, and then we have modern, which is like the world that we live in, where there's power and it's like democratic but like not, and capitalist and all this stuff. And then there's like the postmodern, where we like break it all down, like what does it mean? And then there's metamodern, where we've broken down the ideas and then we've rebuilt it into this new society, one that we actually want to live in. So that is the discourse that I want to have. Judging by the skeptical look in Elliot's eye, I suspect that he is confused.
I'm like, first up, what do you mean by power? Like, let's like...
Right. So let's start to define terms. Good. I like this pushback. Okay. You are doing a thing that is causing me to change.
That's power. And power is doing something that changes the world?
Power is the ability to get things done. So it's enact change in the world in ways that are a manifestation of your will.
Okay. And so you have more power when you can cause more will in the world.
Right, like when your will can manifest more.
Like I think with lots of money have lots of ability.
So people that want to have money and then they make a lot of money,
they have evidence that they gathered all that money. They have evidence that they have had power up until now.
Yeah, this is power. But I want to make it like a distinction. I think that's not always made, that just because you can change the world doesn't mean you have power, right? Because if you change the world, like if you can like fuck up your life and ruin it all, like there is a power in that, but it's not what you want. So it's not like
your average drug addict really is good at getting their drugs and like messing with their own world.
But they're powerless to the drug.
Okay.
And so there is like this like, and like on a lower level, they're powerful in the sense that they can like get these things, but in like if you go up one step and like, well, what is it that you actually want? They're not really necessarily living the lives that they want to be living. And so there's a powerlessness there. And that's the 12-step program does that, right? So they acknowledge the powerlessness in your life, right? Because that's the first step. You need to acknowledge that you're actually powerless, and that by doing that, you're able to see reality, and then that gives you some power, or at least when power shows up, you're able to do it. Do I feel powerful? I feel more powerful now than I have ever in my life, but I don't feel like powerful.
Oh, so more powerful, but still not very powerful.
Yeah. So like I have a lot of power, right? In ways that I didn't have. Like I have the power to like, I guess like I didn't have kids before, so like I didn't have the power to raise my kids or something, or to like be a good dad, right? And I feel like I'm like I have the power to be a good dad and to raise my progeny in the way I think they should be raised, more or less, like not fully, but like pretty good. I have the power of discourse, so I didn't have that before. So our YouTube channel where we talk about things, I have the power to speak to the world. Whether or not the world is listening is a different question, but I do have that power to articulate myself, and that's not something I have always had in my life. There are other things that I'm not going to go into here.
I mean, you haven't mentioned physical power yet, which is you're a bigger human than you used to be as a small child. That's kind of
Yeah. I'm slowing down. Like I'm getting older, so like I am slowing down a lot. But in terms of like strength and physical ability, I think I'm still um like I'm much more coordinated now than I ever was. And like physically, like my body does lives my life in the way that it needs to live much better than it used to. So there's like I'm less athletic, and like things slow me down, but um I think I have more control over what's going on in like a mutually beneficial way, right? So this moves into like power versus control. So like like there are things that you can control, but like you're the way you control them, it's not necessarily good for you to control them.
right. As in,
Sorry,
like,
we're
the moment you let go of control, then you lose all your power over them.
no, so
Like
there's
while you're watching your kid, they behave themselves, and then you look the other way, and you realize you
yeah,
have no power over them. Like, ah,
right. Right. So like kids are a perfect example of this, right? Like there are some parents that see like they're very controlling of their kids, but you don't want that. You actually don't want that, even though you do want that, right? Like there's a part of you that wants that, but you need to like deal with that part because it's not good for you to just be controlling them, because they need to be like the thing you actually want is for them to be independent and to live their best life. They got a bunch of problems, right? Because they're new, and so
that's
they
like
don't
when they
know.
grow up. If you're so busy with control, they won't be in charge of their own lives. You will be, and you'll be
Yeah,
exhausted. Like, why aren't they being an adult now? And all your
yeah.
fault.
It's not like yeah. Sorry, yeah. Yeah, like it's like you people that control their kids their whole lives and like not letting them like be independent at all, and then they hit 18 and they're like, okay, you're an adult now, go live. And the kid's like, like I don't know how when you've been like blocking me, you've been agentically blocking me my whole life. Like, how am I supposed to do? Like, I don't know how things like I don't know how I work. I don't know how things work. I don't know how to do stuff. And and so like you can have that control over your kids because like they're very small, right? They're very small. They're
Right.
very
Well, they're
new. They're
small.
easily manipulated. Like,
Although
yeah.
kids have small bodies but big emotions, right? There's something interesting
Yeah.
about a crying baby. Have you ever been in a room with like 20, 30 adults with a crying baby in it? Everyone gets upset. Everyone's like agitated. Everyone, like the women especially, are like, I don't know what I was doing, but we got to do something about this baby. We have to help this baby, right? Like something about a crying baby really puts everyone on edge.
yeah, yeah. Especially when it's your kid.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That too. But
there's
any
like
baby,
there's like
strangers
a
are like,
whole there's like a whole thing to like dealing with, because you need to have like secure attachment, right? So the
"Hmm,
kid freaks out and then you freak out, then the kid's gonna freak out more. So you need to like calm your
oh, power
like
over
calm.
self, power over yourself
Yeah,
to
yeah,
self-regulate.
yeah, yeah. Like so like self-regulation is a is like a huge deal in parenting, or at least the way I do it.
Hmm.
But it's a power, but it's and then this is interesting because like there is this power here, and then um and like and like just by being in certain ways, then the people around you will respond. And there it could often be like if you do it intentionally, it can like there are people that will read that as manipulation, because like you're intentionally having like subconscious effects on people. And so this is something I think we should talk about because it's very psychotechnologically relevant,
Yeah. Okay.
but it's stuff that we do.
I want to like, I want more example. Can you create a basic example?
Sure. So
I mean, you can be like your boss or something. Like you're at
you want
work
like
and
kid
you've got a
example
boss. Yeah,
or
kid example.
or people or like
Workplace,
adults.
workplace example, kid example.
Okay, so a big one is so the big one like that I use a lot is like I remain calm. Like whatever's going on, I'm like try to be calm and blissed out. So the blissed out is more for me than for everyone else.
Doesn't hurt to get a little bit of, oh yeah, this is the good shit. I'm having a good time here.
Yeah. But the calm is often like, even like when people start losing their mind, like immediately I'm moving into, I'm like, this is the only thing that matters. Like, fuck it, nothing else matters. The thing is, you need to remain calm, because if people are not being calm, then whatever decisions they're going to make or reactions they're going to have, like, it's going to make it worse. And there's like you can have like an immediate like react, like someone's falling, you grab them, but like as soon as you realize there's a problem that's not able to be solved this second, you need to like be calm. That's I guess the rule. If you can solve it in 1 second, do it. Otherwise, you need to be calm. And so there is a certain sense in which I know people are agitated and they're wanting me to be agitated, because like that's how they feel. Like they feel that if like that will suck me into the problem, and then they're all on the same team. But I know like I'm not going to be able to perform properly if I'm not calm. And so there's a certain amount of like talking slow and breathing, and let's all take a breath, or like expressing my emotions and like the way I'm going through my emotional stack, that I know that's going to have an effect on the people around me. And it will express the things out loud, so that we can all go through the journey together, and we can all move into this calm state where we're able to think and co-process together. And so there's a power to that, which is interesting. And then there's also like sort of a bit of like there is like a sense in which this is manipulative, in the sense like I'm like intentionally trying to change other people's states. But I also think it's the right thing to do, and I think it's a power that's important for modern day, for previous days, and for the metamodern days. And so this is like a postmodern in the sense we're breaking it down.
Okay, so let me repeat the situation back to you. I'm in a room and there's a couple of people freaking out. We don't know, it doesn't matter what the problem is, but someone's freaking out, and that is calm, right? So this is like we're in a room with a bunch of people, but we're focusing on the emotional wavelength of this room. Physical is a little bit.
So that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing.
And Daniel is keeping calm on the emotional level.
Yeah.
Daniel is keeping control of himself on the emotional level.
Yeah. I'm keeping control of myself. Again, the word control here, like I have maybe that's something like we should be delving into, because there's a coercive control, which I don't do. And then there's like a non-coercive control, which is like the non-coercive the coercive control is like, oh, I need to do this thing, and if I don't do it, it's like, it's like bad, and then I'm a bad person, or I can only feel good if I do this. And there's like this non-coercive control where it's like I'm in control of myself. So it's like the opposite of being really drunk or really angry. Like you're just in control of what's going on, and it's not like a necessarily a prison kind of control. And so I think that's where it comes from. Like I think that in metamodern world, like this is like the secure attachment and all this stuff, which I like, my mind is very biased towards this, because this is the main effect of this is the main thing of parenting, outside of like keeping them alive. But this is I think what is going to be very important for the metamodern world. Like the whole thing needs to take place in this calm, like thoughtful, intentional way. Whatever you're doing, whatever part of the world that you're going to be working on.
I'm suddenly on a very interesting thread. So I noticed this pattern in people, that there is a I'm gonna call it, there's a desperate desire to protect their conscious experiencer, and that is like there's something like a save face, and there's something like a like not reveal their emotions if they think it's going to cause them to be attacked. But this is like everyone has this desperate desire to protect their conscious experience, including like physically, like we don't want to get hurt. And then we are influenced by that desperate desire in many, many ways to, and one of the things we want to protect our conscious experiencer is we want to be the same one, and we want to be in control, right? That's a like, and we want power. We want to accrue power so that our conscious experiencer can have its way, can enact its will in the world if it chooses.
Interesting.
I think we're going.
My mind kind of just went like,
yeah, we're
relaxed
going somewhere with this.
Yeah.
Where we're going.
Yeah, this is like different than what I had originally thought.
No, totally. I'm like, I don't know where that came from. My sense is that in a meta-modern world, we're looking for the world that can coexist between us and other conscious experiences. Like, let's say you do a classic power over model, right? You arrest someone and you throw them in jail. They're not going to like that. They're going to protest. They're going to act like an animal if they need to try and escape. They're going to like flail. They're going to do all sorts of things, right? Because you've enacted like a power over their conscious experience, and you've made in some sense, you've made it not okay that they have a conscious experience in a certain way around you, right? They're not allowed to be violent around me. I'm going to arrest them and throw them in jail.
Yeah.
And they're going to like them and their conscious experience is going to fight with everything that it has to prevent that control from happening to its conscious experience. They're going to run away. They're going to attack back. They're going to use all of the forms of power they have. They're going to try and sue you if they have those resources. They're going to fight. When it comes down to it, they're going to fight so that their conscious experience can have as much freedom as they can possibly have for it. And so when it comes to like, how do we find a meta-modern world where several conscious experiences can have a good time together? Well, like we can lock each person in their own room and then they can't piss off each other, or we
so
have
like
to work really
setting
hard.
Good boundaries. Yeah.
Or we have to work really hard so that we can be in the same room as one another without wanting to kill each other, if we want to make a better modern world of the future.
Yeah. I think you nailed the problem that needs to be solved. Like this is like to deal with Moloch, you need to have power, and you need to have like, we call it like distributed power, so everybody needs to have it. But if you're hanging around with a bunch of powerful people, things get dangerous very quickly.
Right. You've got a fist fight between Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg.
So a fist fight isn't so bad, right? It's like, if I'm like hanging out in the bar and there's like people with fists, it's like, okay, that's not so bad. If I'm hanging out in a bar and there's people with nukes, it's a bit different.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I mean. Like the Zuck Musk fight is like, that's a fist fight, and I'm really glad that they're doing it there and they're not doing it in the marketplace.
That's true. That's an interesting idea. That like, I mean, we saw the collapse of FTX, was a cryptocurrency exchange, and it collapsed when the founder from one exchange tweeted at another one, and they like pissed each other off. And then one founder tweeted, "I'm going to sell a bunch of your coin," and then it made a bank run on the second one, and then FTX is gone now. They collapsed. They went bankrupt because there was a bank run on their value.
Well, yeah, I mean, the whole thing was based on, I think, fraud.
Yeah, but it could have probably that might have had a while longer. I don't know.
Yeah. They could have kept it going for longer.
Yep.
And I think actually that's a really good example of what you're saying. Like, if you're like, I think this is like, if Zuck and Musk are having like issues with each other, and then they take it to the ring, it's because they can't like Facebook can't collapse because of a tweet from Elon Musk, right? Which says something like good about Facebook. because Musk would take down Facebook in a second with a tweet if he could, but he can't,
Right.
so he has to punch out the CEO.
They have to take it to their fists because they
Because he can't take him down tweet. And I think that's actually like pretty good, because like who cares a shit? Like who cares if they beat each other up, right? Like probably like their moms, but nobody else.
Mm. Yep. Pretty crazy. Well,
yeah, so
right.
yeah, I actually think this is a meta modern solution to modern problems.
I totally think that the fight is a good thing. I don't want to get stuck on it for too long, but I think it's definitely better for them to play it out interpersonally than for them to try and battle it in like we use the large corporate systems of society to hold us stable. Like we don't actually want world wars. We want world leaders to do fist fights or corporate people. If we can. In fact, there's this funny story of peace breaking out on the front. I don't know if you've
World War II Christmas.
World War II Christmas.
World War One Christmas.
World War One Christmas, but that's not.
Yeah.
There's been a couple movies made about that one, where the two armies declared a ceasefire for Christmas and got out of their bunkers and like traded lunch and like hung out with each other and played soccer, and then after that day got back in their bunkers and continued fighting. But yeah, there's kind of like people don't want to keep fighting on large scales, but the order comes down from above to keep fighting.
Yeah. And I think in like a meta modern world, there's gonna be more, like the idea is that there's more opportunity for those kind of things. Where like, okay, like we're at war with this country, but then the people fighting are like, well, we're not really at war with each other. But also like you can't come here. Like if you come here, we'll kill you. But like, are we gonna mortar you? Maybe not.
We might end up in like more sports tournaments, like sport being a like the athletes don't necessarily die at the end of the sport game. They can like
so
like an outlet
I think
for that power.
Right. So I think the sports has an outlet for it. But there's a thing that war does that can't really be done well by sports, at least as far as I know. And that is war is a reflection, it is reality. It's not a reflection of reality. It just is reality.
Right. At the end of the war, one country might have taken the land of another country.
Right. So like Russia says like, oh, we're this and that. Like they can say whatever they want, but at the end of the day, there's a reckoning, and the war lets everyone see what's actually happening, because nobody would, like everything else, you can excuse other things. You can't excuse like people taking your shit by force. Like there's no excuse for that. Like you didn't want that to happen and that happened to you. So you're weaker than that person, or that entity is weaker than that entity. It doesn't make them moral or likable, but yeah.
There's something complicated going on historically where our current society is built on so many wars, and so much of how we ended up here is by stabbing the other guy and taking his stuff. And here we are today. We don't really do wars as much as we used to. At least I hope so. And then like trying to work out how to coexist. I haven't been to war. So I don't do wars. But trying to work out, well, if I don't want to take it to the arena of physical violence, but I still want to be powerful, how do I arm myself in this metamodern world?
Yeah. So I think the idea is that the metamodern world is not naive. Right. So there's a
violence.
Yeah. So there is a naive answer to violence is like, okay, well, like killing people and taking their stuff isn't good. So let's not do that, is like, I guess ancient, or maybe let's call it modern or something. And like, that's good. I'm not talking that's naive. And then there's, okay, well, now we've lived in this world for a while, and like the world works where this doesn't happen. And it doesn't happen right now or in your lifetime, but this is a function of how the world works, the same way that physics is. And you can't just like pretend that it doesn't exist.
Sounds like they're
or
not
act like it's
advocating for like give everyone the button.
no, that's a solution to the problem, and I don't think it's a good solution. But it's that would
Dangerous
be like
solution.
it's a bad solution, but on the level of abstraction that you're trying to express is like this is trying to solve. But like, what's the problem that you're actually trying to solve, right? Because from a nature perspective, that more powerful beings take from less powerful is just how things go.
Mm.
And I think that there's a certain extent of like we want to honor that and we want to respect that. And so there is a certain extent of like if you're bigger than someone, you can kind of bully them around a little bit, but there are boundaries.
Wait. Let me break this down a bit. So you've got let's go for the lion eating the gazelle. Right. So you've got a lion population and a gazelle population, where the lions sustain themselves by eating some of the gazelles, and the gazelles sustain themselves by eating a bunch of the grass. And if there's a drought, there's less gazelles, and then the lions have to sort of either run out of gazelles or go very hungry. But there's this way in which the system of nature in the lion and gazelle strategy either sustains itself, or all the gazelles get eaten by all the lions, and then the lions die because they have no food source anymore. So there's a natural system where there's a good thing, where eating the lions eating the gazelles is sort of capping the lion population. And then there's the way that humans do it, where historically they've just gone to another continent and taken everyone as slaves, right? But you can only do that so many times because you kind of run out of continents. And then you get things like the fall of Rome because they sort of ran out of slaves. So
I got a whole like cool theory on Rome. Yeah,
the ways that humans have done the strong one takes from the weak one hasn't necessarily been done in a sustainable way, and then there's been a societal collapse.
So yes and no,
Okay.
in the sense like you gave a bunch of examples of collapse, but like we've actually been like around for like whatever collapses there are, like there is this not collapse also going on. I think I kind of want to like go through that. So like you have like this the base level of the lions and the gazelles, and so there is this like recognition by everyone that the lions are stronger than the gazelles, and it's there, like this is the nature of things. Humans come along and like they're able to see the system, and then they're able to do things. So they're able to like burn down forests and then hunt the gazelle. And so their problem, like as soon as we're able to do that, our problem is not how do I catch gazelles, it's how do I grow gazelles in a way that I can get them easily. Right. And so like you take that, however many iterations later, and you end up with factory farming, which is like killing the animals is the least amount of like is the least problematic part, is the least hard part of raising them.
Let me tell you, I have this thread in my head that I have to say out loud. I just read a book by Weston Price where he talks about nutrition, and I'm like, that's still kicking around in my head, that like the forces of nutrition on human health, on animal health, on
right like these are problems that we're dealing with of like, well, is factory farming actually like good for us? Like that the problem is not like how do we catch chickens or how do we take down a cow. It's like, well, we have them all captured and we just do whatever we want with them, but we're not exactly sure what it is that can like build the most nutritious chicken so then we can eat it, right? Like, and like those are real problems, right? Like I'm not knocking them, but I'm saying those are the real problems, right? And we've shifted from trying to catch chickens to trying to like antibiotics, but antibiotics are bad. They need something like it's this like insane like Kafkaesque like switch from nature.
I would say maybe we haven't worked out how to properly harness the natural systems yet. We're having these problems where like, oh, we have fat chickens that are lazy and they're getting sick, and we're like, let's just throw some antibiotics on top of them and that'll like keep them from getting sick a bit. But we haven't actually worked out how to dynamically get chickens that are healthy for us to eat.
Yeah, like, but that I'm saying, like, that's the problem. Like, can you imagine going back like 10,000 years and like the guy's trying to like catch a chicken? And you're like, oh, your ancestors are going to. It's going to be so easy for like they're not.
In the
It's
future,
like it's not like
the, the
oh, so you
offspring.
guys must be really good at catching chickens. It's like no, I actually have no idea how to catch a chicken. Because I
Here's
don't need
Daniel
to.
walking
Like,
around with his hands out, being like, "Come here, chicken. Come here, come here."
like the problems I'm solving, like I solve like problems that you literally could not comprehend, that are
Mm.
just like like, and then people give me money for that, and then I just like exchange that for like chicken at the grocery store. Like I don't kill the chicken, sometimes I even like buy it, like someone's already cooked it for me. it's
Crazy.
I'm like one of these crazy people. I actually like cook my meals, a lot of them
Mm.
times, and it's like very weird. Like
I
very
feel like we've gone on a
arcane.
thread well and truly away from power.
No, but this is I think like this is the power discourse, right? Like so I'm trying to contrast this discourse that we're having now of like the power that we have over our environment is gone to the, and I'm talking as humans, not as individuals, but as humans has gone to the point where it's like power isn't the problem. The
As in, we have
problem
plenty of power, but we've lost some of the something
the,
else.
the problem is like we don't know what we should be doing with our power. Right, like back in the day, the problem they had the power problem of like, how do I take down a woolly mammoth, how do I catch chickens, right? Like this is a certain power, like the tigers are out to get me. Nobody gets eaten by a tiger that like is not
Doesn't it?
aware that this is a risk. Like, or they're like incredibly stupid.
I feel like it can be like same thing with sharks. No one gets eaten by a shark unless you're swimming in the ocean, right?
Yeah, there's no predator on the planet that kills people, that
It's
kills
us.
humans.
It's human.
Okay, there's two. Yeah, you're right. And number one, it's us. That's the one thing we haven't like really figured out, because you can't really, because all the rest of them we can just exterminate, but we can't really just exterminate us. And then the second one, like the worst predator on the planet aside from humans is mosquitoes. Like literally mosquitoes. These are the things that are like we're afraid of. Like, oh, you can't go to this part of the world because there are mosquitoes there. Like this level of power that like just like a regular like dumbass human has, like they could just walk around anywhere. Like you couldn't do that at 10,000 years ago. You'd die. But
Mm.
you don't need to have like any real skills in order to just like walk around. I'm not saying your life is going to be great if you have no skills, but you could probably like you could probably survive. And
I think I would agree that humans today are particularly untrained somehow. Thousands of
yeah,
years, billions of years of evolution, and here we are, particularly dumb and stupid today,
yeah,
while also being particularly smart and intelligent today.
yeah. And the thing is we're also like way smarter than anyone that's ever come before us, because like even like dumb people can know how to Google, like
Mm.
or like watch YouTube videos, and like you just know what's going on in the world.
Or
You
you
know, like
try to learn. Yeah, the information is so available.
yeah, like I'm the smartest guy that's ever lived if you don't count any humans from like 1,000 years, in the last 1,000 years. Aside from anyone who's been around for like even like 500 years, I'm
I
like
feel like
literally the smartest guy ever.
I feel like I also I want to put in a complaint to society that like I am also an incredibly smart human for the standards of even 200-300 years ago, right? I grew up with
Yeah,
enough nutrition. I was educated every single day in a school. Here I am, smarter than many people who were alive 300 years ago, and yet still I don't feel like I'm winning at society today.
you don't think you're what?
Winning at society. There's a bunch of other smarter people.
Yeah. So here's the
Everything's
game.
accelerated.
Okay, part of the metamodern way is what games are you playing? So
Mm.
like if postmodern just dissect like breaks them apart, metamodern is like, okay, well now I see there's a bunch of games. What games am I playing? And I think this is a common game that people play where they try to be better than society.
Mm.
And there's a way to play this where you always win, and there's a way to play this where you always lose. and you got to be like, you got to play it right. And I think the right way to play it is, let me share my perspective, the way I play it. So for me, like I have this vision of like who my peer is, and my peer is the average top poster of Teapot. So like they're really good at writing. They know all, yeah, they know all the they're like psychotechnologically informed, so like they know all the psychotech. They're also very articulate, because I only really listen to articulate people, because those are the ones that show up.
Those are the ones that float to the top of the news feed. Yep.
Yeah. So like it's kind of like the best of all the categories. That's who my peers are.
Right.
And by peers, I mean the people that I want to hang out with.
And the people who you imagine that you are on par with, because those are the ones you're reading, and they look like they're putting in no effort at all to be on par with you.
No, they put in effort. I don't think I read anyone that doesn't put in any effort. Like I think everyone that I'm like listening to is like, but I've hit a point where like people who don't put in effort aren't good at this.
Right.
But like, so there's like this like vision of this person who is like the best in all these who's like not even the best, who's just like good at all these things. And like that's the person I'm competing with. What?
A Franken person. Like Frankenstein.
Well, it's a Franken person, but it's like it's an abstract artificial abstraction of all these like people that just kind of come together. And so, and like this is exactly what social media does, right? Because you're only seeing the top people,
right? The highlight reels of all of your friends,
right?
The highlights of the highlight reels,
right? And also, I think a lot about like Jesus and Buddha and those guys, like people that changed the world, and like Gandhi. And so I'm like, okay, well now I'm also like competing with those people, like.
Jeez, you're giving yourself a hard time here.
Which like even like Jesus, like competing with Jesus today is like way harder than competing with Jesus when he was alive. Because when he was alive, he was just some guy. Now he's like the son of God who started the biggest religion on the planet. It's lasted 2,000 years. So you're kind of, they kind of get this like mythical status, like these, maybe you think he's son of God, but even like, let's say Buddha, like he gets this mythical status that is so far beyond what a human can live that it's crazy.
Well, I think even Gandhi has a bit of a mythic status amongst people today.
Yeah.
He was only, 50 years ago or so.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think he's holding a mythic.
I'm actually surprised. Back in my day, like when I was younger, he had this much more mythical. Nowadays, I feel like people don't really appreciate him as much.
He died in 1948, so he's about 70 years ago now. Yeah.
Okay. So what's my general point? So how am I playing this game? So the way I'm playing it is like this is the society that I live in. These are the people that I like. These are that I look up to, that I learn from, that I work with, that I live with. Whether or not it's like in my head or it's like actual physical people, is whatever. But like, so this is it. So like there's this like immediately what happens is like the keeping up with the Jones effects. So you want to like keep up with all these people, which I, by the way, never had this problem until I like got into psychotech, where I'm like, oh shit, I need to know all the psychotech.
Are you keeping up with the Buddha today, Daniel?
right. Every time like someone shows up and they're like, oh, I got this thing, I'm like, oh no, like someone's gonna get this edge on me, and then they're gonna like know all these words in like cool ways, and then I'm gonna be behind, and so like I need to like stay on top of it. And so there's a way where that crushes you, and there's a way where that grows you. And so you want to play the game in the way that grows you, not in the way that crushes you. Because I think the thing to remember at the end of the day is nobody's keeping score.
Nobody else is keeping score. Only you are.
I stopped keeping score, and so now nobody's keeping score.
But that's the thing. No one else is keeping score. So if you're keeping score, you're the idiot who's keeping yourself down and miserable.
Yeah,
But if you're able to let go and grow, you can just like stop keeping score like that. Keep the score of your wins and ignore everything else.
No, you can't do that. You gotta be even with it. So you can celebrate your victories and you can mourn your losses, and you should be doing both of those. But the score, like, Like, like what score? Like who's scoring it? What metric? What standards are you using? And you need to have like some levels of scores, like scoring, but and I think this is the key to the meta modern. It's not that I'm in these games, it's I'm playing these games, so I'm deciding what the scores are, I'm deciding what the things are. And it's important to keep those things long term, like over time, so you're not just changing the rules every time you start losing. Like, it's important to actually lose and to like be sad that you've lost something. But like overall, there's no, like, it's just a way for you, like it's like your notebook, it's like your diary at the most. The scoring system you use is just like, dear diary, today I got 10 points and yesterday I lost 8. Like that's what it comes down to. So I think people, like, they stress and they beat themselves up over like losing these scores. And you know what, like your life is not going to be perfect, and things are going to suck, and like face that reality, and
I
then play
actually
the
think
games you want
that
to play the games that you're going to win.
I think that there's a little bit of a puzzle here. Same as I was saying earlier around like the conscious experiencer acts in certain ways, and we have to like honor the other conscious experiencer. We actually have a super puzzle where consciousness cannot make itself have a bad time. Like the only way to like if I told you like hit your hand with a hammer, the only way I could get you to convince yourself to do it was if you thought it was a good idea, or if you thought like there was some benefit to hitting your hand with that hammer, right?
Yeah.
You can't actually cause direct suffering. We can only like, maybe you can reason like, oh, it'll be a good idea, Elliot will like me more if I hit myself with a hammer. But that's like, I'm trading off the pain of hitting myself with a hammer for the benefit of Elliot liking me, right? I think there's an upwards movement in that Elliot will like me. Right, you can't just do a negative so easily. It's incredibly difficult to get ourselves
Yeah.
to explicitly have a bad time, and only in a negative way, like
Yeah.
without us first of all shifting the meaning making. And like for example, one that I used to do as a little kid is I used to be like, something would happen and then I would get upset or angry, and then I'd just be grumpy for the next 5-10 minutes, you know, like 3-year-old grumpy, right? But like there was some benefit. It looked like my emotion, if from the outside, it might have looked like I went from like having a good time to suddenly having a bad, like grumpy emotion. But what had happened internally is I had gone like, I want to be grumpy. I really, really want this. I'm going to hold on to being grumpy for a while.
Yeah.
Until I realized that I was like not liking that. And then I'd, you know, let it go and move on. But there's some like personal commitment to like, I'm going to make myself grumpy right now because I'm committed to holding on to my grumpiness. We actually really have a difficult time going in a negative direction. And so we're doing fancy footwork all the time to cause our consciousness to like increase, like the number go up sort of score. And like one example, like we have mixed forms of meaning making, right? I have money, and then I have spend money on like social function, and then I'm like up in social function, down in money. Then later I'm like social resource gets traded for like, now I can go work hard at work, and then I can get money, and we'd like shuffle around meaning making in order to like, but we can't like directly throw the money away so easily. It's quite a difficult thing to do, unless I'm like throwing money away is virtuous, and then I'm like up in virtue, down in money.
Yeah.
Deliberately cause negative utility, very, very against consciousness.
Yeah. This is like a huge thing you're talking about, like, because you're translating across frames, and that becomes very, like, that's why it's important to have like values that you consistently value and you consistently hold to, because that lets you transfer across frames. Because transferring emotions across frames is like is very childish, right? Like, it's what children try to do, which it's very difficult to do, and it's not really good for you long term. Like, I remember when I was like,
emotions? I missed something there. What do you mean by it?
Yeah. So like when I was younger, I remember like you know, let's say my parent would do something that was unfair.
Right.
And so I'd be upset about it. But then, because I'm a kid and, you know, whatever, like 20 minutes later, I'm not upset anymore. And so then there was this dismissal of like, oh, you're just gonna forget about it in 20 minutes. And I'm like, this is really bad. Like, and I don't want to forget about it in 20 minutes. Like, because you dismiss it now, it's like, well, this you're like, this emotion is like, it's not real, but it is real.
Mm.
And you're saying it's not real because it doesn't exist longer. So I'm gonna have to hold on to it longer. I have to try to like force myself to do that.
It's like how to force your kid to have a worse life.
Yeah.
Their emotions.
It's really bad. Yeah. Don't dismiss emotions.
Mm.
Right. Just don't dismiss kids' emotions because they're not gonna remember it in 20. Like they're literally designed to be impulsive. Like that's not a good metric.
Mm.
Um and so yeah, like it's important to like be with the emotion while it's there with them so that it they don't carry it onwards, that the emotion can release when and where it is.
Mm.
Um but yeah, so you're trying to bring emotions across. It doesn't really it's really not good for your psyche, but to bring values across is, I think. So you can say like, I really value being uh like being honest, like truth, right?
Mhm.
So it doesn't matter, like it doesn't matter where you are, you're true. So you're in a situation where we're all talking about how cool, how like, there's girls there and you're trying to show off, and you're saying, I believe in truth and I think it's important to be honest and say true things all the time. And then you get to a situation where you have a chance to like to like um to lie for your own benefit. And then now you're in that situation and you're like, oh well, like your emotions have shifted, right? Like your emotions in the first place were like very pro happy truth, and now they're like, no, like this is not good because we can get this thing. And so to stay, yes, like I can get it and it benefit me and make me happy right now, but these are not my values, and I state in my values. My values are not to lie. And then that lets you translate across frames in like a healthy way.
Mm. Okay, now we got to link back to power a bit more and power in the metamodern world.
Right. So this is power over yourself, right?
Mm.
So this is sort of how it starts, right? Because like emotions are power, but they're very like frame limited. And I don't mean to like be dismissive of emotions. Like they're still really, it's important to do the whatever frame you're in, like wherever you are in the moment. Like it's important to do that well. And let the emotions do the emotions, let the values do the values. So the values are there across, but they're just telling you what's important. They're not really like doing anything.
Right.
And I mean like doing anything in like an action level. They are obviously like changing your values, like change the way you live your life. And so like this is like very spiral dynamicsy, right? Like you got the different levels of abstractions happening. And so in the metamodern like way I see this, like I see things playing out, is having something like a spiral dynamics or whatever the next iteration is, where you have like the different levels going on. And so not everyone's able to play at the higher levels, but if each level is acknowledged as important on that level and you're not trying to cross them, then boundaries got to be set really nicely.
Mm.
Because and you can tell when someone's trying to like pull a fast one or someone's trying to like defect, because then they're going to start like mixing up levels.
Mm.
Sorry, they're going to start mixing up levels, and then you're going to call them out on it, and you're not going to, like, things aren't going to balance out. And then you're like, well, this is defection, whether or not it's intentional or not. Like there's a Moloch situation happening here.
Mm.
And so that's like that's a way to do power. Like that's sort of like a way to do conflict and power, like abstract it in a way where it's I think it's still real. And you're still acknowledging what's going on, and you're still like, everyone's still gotta be individual agents pursuing their goals, and still we gotta live in this world where we all understand, well, and like we all understand to a certain extent what's going on, and then we play in this world, in this structure. And then so then all the things that are normally considered power start to show up, but they're all kind of biased towards win-win situations, which is what we want.
Mm. I'm like sitting on an idea that self-awareness is power and awareness is power.
Sure.
And I'm like trying to work out if I believe that.
Damn, let's go. To me, it's obvious. So I'd love to hear how you're processing this. To me, it's like so obvious. I don't know how to explain it. Like it's like you don't need to explain it, right? Um like maybe the 2-year-old can't understand it yet, but like probably the 4 or 5-year-old could. We're like, okay, you're crying. You have the thing, and you're crying, and you're dysregulated and can't get it. Like you just put a cookie in front of someone that's crying who wants a cookie, and then they can't get it until they control. Like they like literally, like no one's. You're just watching them. They literally cannot stand up and get it. So like, I mean, like that's just like a very basic level of power. Like, can you get up and like get the thing you want,
Right.
or ask for it?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sort of like examining self-awareness and also how this applies to metamodern power in the metamodern world. Where we might start to see the more self-aware people, I'm hopeful, more self-aware people collectively known as the more powerful people.
So I think there's it's a two-way street, right? So I think there is a sense, and we want to build a world where it's recognized, self-awareness is recognized as power, and so people will defer, will not necessarily defer, but will will let them have more like more space, more power to do things, because like you kind of want those people to be making decisions because it's going to be good for you. And then there's the other way of, if you're self-aware, and I think that the thing about self-awareness is, if you're a bad person and you're self-aware, then you go the opposite direction. Like you don't want power. You want to be as powerless as possible, because you know how bad you know it's bad for you to have power.
Right.
But let's say like the good people, or the people that like make good decisions, when they gain self-awareness, they gain more confidence. They gain what looks like confidence. They gain more courage, and to the outside that looks like more confidence. And this is a natural tendency for humans, is to let those with confidence be in charge.
Yeah, interesting.
And then also the self-awareness is just practically useful, because you can just find your flaws, and then just like, I mean, ideally work through them, but even not ideally, is like contingencies or support from others.
Yeah, I'm guessing I'm sort of sitting here thinking like, okay, knowing these things, how do I start to operate in the metamodern world in a powerful way? I'm like, how do I operationalize this newfound understanding of power? That's my first question. And I'm like, give me a moment.
Oh, do you want a moment? Are you asking for
I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. That's like I'm sitting with it.
All right, so I gotta take. It's you start small. So you start like, you're like, okay, I'm self-aware, this is what's going on. Like, what do I need? Like, like like what do I need? What do I do? And so there's going to be like something small is going to show up for you. So it might be like, give me a minute, and like a minute of silence, right? And like that feels like a lot now, but in like the grand scheme of things, it's not that much. And so now there's like a decision of power. Like now you're in a like power decision, because you could ask for this.
Yeah, I'm sort of, as you talk, I'm trying to get a feeling, like a felt sense of powerfulness, or what is power.
Okay, so you're
Get
like
like
doing a
more
thing.
in
You're
tune with what power is and what it feels like to feel power.
right. So this is like kind of like information gathering. So this is like the move you're making, and information is power.
Yeah.
Knowledge. What do I say? Knowledge is power. Francis Bacon.
The next thing that's coming up is like a question of compatibility, like how to make power compatible with the rest of me.
Interesting.
Like power maybe feels a little bit blind. Like I'm busy doing, like enacting the power, and I'm not necessarily seeing all of me anymore because I'm busy doing,
Yeah.
which is like
So that
it's a step down, right? I've traded strong awareness for like an action.
yeah. So I mean, to a certain extent, that's always going to be true, right? Like it's much easier to predict yourself if you sit in your room and do nothing. Like
Right.
what's going to happen.
Right. So you can regather self-awareness by like stillness,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
stabilize self-awareness by like stillness. But that's
Yeah.
self-awareness in stillness, not self-awareness in chaos. I might act differently in chaos.
Yes. And I mean, like in a way, obvious, like in a like partially, obviously, yes, and partially, whatever chaos, like you do stuff like that changes you, and then you sit with the change, like you've learned about, like you have learned about the chaos because you still like remember it, and your body still remembers it. But in a certain sense, obviously, yeah, no, if you're doing stuff like you're not like if you're doing things, you're not sitting and contemplating yourself. Um, but you can learn about yourself in other ways. So like let's say like there's a lot of like movements or that you do that gain insight into yourself that you could not have gotten sitting on the cushion. So like dancing, you can learn about yourself. And so there's a movement and there's a self-awareness, and those happen simultaneously, which is like an enlightenment, almost. Some people get this in fighting, but I think most people get it in their passion. So there's things that you really want to do, or there's things that it's not even like you really want to do them. It's like this is your path, this is what you're meant to do. There's like a synergy with you in the universe. And then while you do them, you lose track of time, you lose awareness, you're just one with everything or whatever's going on. And I don't know this for a fact, but I do believe that this generates the most amount of self-awareness.
I am lost. I've gone somewhere. I have no idea where I've gone.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Where am I? Oh no, he's about to throw it back to me. What the hell am I doing again? Like, oh.
I like this because like you did it to me before, and I do it back to you. So
like, yeah, I don't know. I'm usually very, very, very committed to staying on thread, like staying attuned, not necessarily on attuned. And now I'm like, oh, I'm just absolutely lost.
Yeah, no, I think this is great. Like, I think this is I think this happens like when you get like this like wide universe like expression, and then like people go there, and then they just like their own mind starts doing things. I actually like it. I find it very relaxing. Which is what I'm saying. Like it's like my whole thing, right? Like gotta be calm and relaxed in order to deal with things.
This is not just calm and relaxed. This is like open, like incredibly spacious, open.
Yeah.
Different thing.
But isn't like like openness
maybe
like this kind of openness, I mean, is yeah, because like whatever, like universe.
Yep, good questions. Definitely not on the power thread anymore.
but that's where I think the power thread kind of ends, right? Like there winds up being like it's like you have power like for what? Like to what end? And like if you watch like Game of Thrones, like Cersei has a lot of power. But like fuck that. Like I would much rather be like some random person. Like it's just not like the life that she lives is not a good life. And so like all her power comes to is like it's like ash in her mouth. Like she would be better if she was powerless, if she just stayed powerless to her husband.
Can't comment. Haven't seen.
Okay. Got to keep up with the cultural milieu.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Whatever it is, like there's a million stories, right? Like or like Macbeth, right? I don't know if that one's only been out for like 500 years, so maybe you haven't gotten to it yet. But like he's got this power, and he winds up killing his friend, and like all this stuff. Spoilers, sorry. It's like it's like, or like it's just it winds up being like it's like you're saying, like with the power, like it's and there's like a lot of people that live their lives where they don't have power and they don't want power, and like there's this perspective in which that's insane, and then there's a perspective in which like that's probably fine and like better than a lot of other people. Like they're probably like top half of human experiences.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking about something like right relationship to power. Like there's avoiding all power is probably the wrong relationship. Trying to gather all power is probably also wrong relationship. But right relationship is much more complicated and nuanced and possibly flowy between sometimes gathering power and sometimes letting it go and sometimes holding it lightly and sometimes holding it over someone but not using it. Like all these complicated relationships to power are probably the right relationship, where just needing to feel powerful is wrong relationship, because that'll end up controlling you over, like the need to feel powerful will have you argue with a police officer when you shouldn't.
Yeah. And if you gain like self-worth or ego from the power, then the power has power over you.
Right.
And
it's like the addiction having power over you.
Yeah.
So then the question is like, well, wait a second, what is right relationship to the phenomena we're calling power?
Right.
And my sense is that some of right relationship is to gather at least some power.
That's
Like, well, there's a few
that's
things.
feels like it's missing a step.
There is, because there's power between self and other, and there's power between interior and exterior, and there's power between conscious and subconscious. And there's a way in which the consciousness can give power to the subconscious, like I trust the universe will give me what I want, and then roll the dice in that. There's a way in which the self can give power to other, and that can go well or go badly. And there's a way in which the interior can give power to the exterior, like I let whatever's going on around me influence my feelings. And these are like three massively different dimensions of power dynamic. And like we say metamodern world, we probably mean much more the relational one, but also it's all of them mixed together, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I lost him. I did it again. Okay.
No, it's good. No, I'm
like,
here with you.
You're here?
There's just
the three random
there's
dimensions
just
that you can throw power at and be confused about. Got it.
yeah. No, look, I'm not saying. I mean, like I think it's you. Yeah, you've picked a bunch of dimensions and you've shared them, and I think like there's obviously like I guess infinite dimensions probably, or a lot more at least.
I mean, there's even like giving power to one set of your emotions over another. Like my fear can overpower my joy. My joy can overpower my fear. Like, oh, wait a second.
Yeah.
Or like my addiction can overpower my other emotional experiences.
Right. So you can do like all this, like all these power, but I think like it's not like to say like the self or the other is like like the answer to that question of like, is it interior, exterior, self, other? Um, what was the third one you had?
Conscious and subconscious,
Conscious,
which are
yeah,
which are
conscious,
both
unconscious.
interiors. They're their power, interior conscious, interior subconscious, interior exterior, like interior world, exterior world, and then like self world, other world, being other consciousnesses, other people generally.
Yeah, yeah, those are good dimensions. I think like the one that's sticking out for me is conscious, unconscious. What?
Just like, farmer with a piece of wheat in his mouth. Them's are some good dimensions we're farming.
Oh, dude, that's yeah. Like the vision I have is Midnight Gospel where they're doing like
Right.
the farming, the experiences. I often like get that mindset when we're doing the psychotechnologies, because like we're farming these psychotechs that are like perspective altering, all encompassing perspective altering frames. And but like you still need to like, I think like as a psychotech that wants to like actually develop them, you need to remain conscious while you're experiencing the divine,
Mm.
or else or else you can't really do psychotext with it, right? As a regular person, you can just experience the divine and lose yourself, and that's fine. And it's probably good for you. It's probably something I'm messing up by trying to remain conscious during it. But
Well, it's like
it
if
is
you want
what
to
it
be a
is.
wizard, you need to know how to surf these magic spells.
Yeah, you need to stare into the abyss and like try to figure out how it works.
Mm.
Uh,
Go a little mad and bring something back for the rest of us.
yeah. Um. Right. So I think like the conscious subconscious is like this really good archetype way to play with it, because you're like, in theory you shouldn't be in conflict. Like if you're in conflict with your subconscious, like something is, or your subconscious conflict with your conscious, like you need to deal with
Generally,
that.
the subconscious is going to win, but you're only going to find out afterwards that the
No, nobody wins this fight.
well, as in like you lose, the subconscious wins.
You lose.
That yeah.
Just everyone loses.
Yes. Or like,
Right. I
I
mean
mean,
like,
there's a really interesting question there of like, what is the right relationship between conscious and subconscious?
right. And it's like harmony.
Do you
Like
have
there's a
a
harmony.
okay, harmony. Let's
Well,
start.
so the thing is like there's no answer there. All the answers are cliche, right? It's like all the cliche answers are correct, and it's all the answers are cliche, because it's like like any statement, any answer, it has to be a synthesis of both of them. So it has to be something that appeals to your conscious mind and to your unconscious mind, right? Because otherwise I'm just saying, well, this one wins.
Uh, so you named harmony. That's like one, and that's
Right.
they don't necessarily have to be equal, but they're like working together.
Right. So
There's also hmm? Go ahead.
yeah, so if you want the, like, I can give you the conscious answer, or I can give you the unconscious answer.
Yeah, like as in like consciousness should win, or unconscious will win.
No,
Or
no, no. Like you're saying, who wants to win, right? So who's asking me? Is this your conscious or your unconscious?
well, I'm asking
Who
for the right
wants to know the
relationship. It
answer?
doesn't really know.
But like, whose perspective
Oh,
is this?
okay. Who wants to know the answer? Uh, yeah. In that sense, the answer has to be one that appeals to both.
Right.
Yeah.
So like that's the answer.
Mm.
It's
Right.
the things that
Relationship
appeal.
is a relationship
And
that
I
appeals
said,
to both parties.
yeah.
Interesting. I like that actually. That's a very good way to answer.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I had to figure that one out myself, because I'm like, yeah, but like we have to stop fighting. And so there's like compromises made on both sides. But it's like, what else are you gonna do?
I'm thrown into symmetry theory of valence of like right relationship is symmetrical relationship. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if that's actually correct. It's just what threw itself into my mind. But yeah,
Yeah,
a relationship that appeals to both sides can be like master and emissary, like, or king and disciple. Like you can have a positive relationship in both directions. In
right.
symmetry, you've got the two lovers can have a right relationship in which there is one is enslaved to the other. Although it doesn't sound like fun to me. Maybe if it sounds fun to the
Right.
like,
But some
then
people
they're
that might
good.
like really.
Right.
Yeah,
But
because
that's
like
what I
it
mean
can
by
you
like
can
right
really
relationship is symmetry, or symmetrically appreciated at least.
yeah, well, I think the symmetry thing is overrated because I think the symmetry is like the is an equilibrium. Is essentially what you're saying, and everything all systems are going to move towards an equilibrium, whether that equilibrium is everyone dying or like
Right.
some sort of status quo. Like that's gonna like I guess in theory it could not, but
Right. No, you're
in
right about your
general it is.
previous question of like who am I answering to? Who am I telling the answer to for right relationship?
Yeah.
I see that as like uh or like what is the answer you tell the subconscious and what is the answer you tell the conscious? I'm curious now.
Yeah. So um wait, what was the question again?
For what is
What is the
right
right
relationship
relationship?
between what is the right relationship between conscious and subconscious, and what is the answer to the question that applies for conscious, and what is the answer that applies for subconscious?
Yeah. So I think the conscious answer is a lot easier to talk about.
Right,
Um
because
so
we
like
usually consider ourselves the
because we could
conscious
just
agents.
yeah, we can just do it consciously.
Yeah.
So I would say it's like it's like it's consciousness needs to remember it's an iceberg, it's the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
And so like that's you can think you're the most important part, but you're only showing up where the iceberg wants you to show up. So do your job, but understand who's moving you around. But you're not just the tip of an iceberg, you're the tip of the spear. And the tip of the spear is in a way the most important part of the spear. And so don't lose your own respect. Don't lose your respect for yourself, and like make sure you do your job. It dictates where everything else follows. And then to the subconscious, um
It's a tricky one to consider as well,
the
because
subconscious
I am mostly the conscious, and so I'm like trying to translate into like subconscious and then talk to
well
like
yeah,
what they mean. And
don't do that. Don't do that because you're trying to translate like don't translate. The subconscious doesn't need translation. It knows what's going on.
right.
It just can't articulate it. So, but it doesn't need to because the consciousness is doing all the hard work, right? Like if you think about like the spear is just the spear, right? If you forget the tip, like the tip is the only thing doing the hard part. Like the rest of the spear is just like it's just an iceberg floating around, like living your life. Like what do you need to like like the tip is where you get the information and the data and the this and the verifications and like it's like that fast part, right? Which is like it's very jarring for the unconscious to have to move quickly. And so if the conscious can just take care of all that, then it kind of just lives in paradise. And so you need the consciousness to survive. You need the conscious part to survive. So the conscious has to respect that the unconscious needs to respect the consciousness that's keeping us alive. But like most of the processing is happening subconsciously anyway. So you're kind of just bliss, right? Like bliss and consciousness is keeping you alive. And if it starts to get jarring for you, then you got to help them or like keep them aligned, depending on what's going on. Does that land?
Yeah, that landed. I'm like, I've been trying it on or playing with it. I am reminded of that episode where we talked to Malcolm, and I
Sure.
gave him this. I say this to people occasionally, like the model of consciousness and subconscious. And it like I every time I repeat it, it shakes me a bit more. But you can't turn off your eyes and your ears, right? They're always sort of like on and receiving. Even if you put your fingers in your ears, there's like audio is coming in. And so in some sense, all of that information is flying at you and landing in your brain all the time. There's no switching it off. It's always coming in. And so what we have is the subconscious catches everything, including all the sensations in your body, and it filters experience to the conscious experiencer. So everything you see, everything you hear, everything you feel is filtered through your subconscious to your conscious experience. And so you look around you and you think you're in the world. What you're in is a projected subjective experience that is filtered by your subconscious for your conscious experiencer to sort of do the thing it's doing as it like checks on things and like confirms that the spear is pointing in the right direction and that like it does all the like lightning quick hard work. Everything that is happening is everything that you experience, everything that you do is in fact more like a projection from your subconscious into your conscious experiencer so that your consciousness can have a time that it's having.
Yeah.
And that means that as you look around your room and around your space and as you feel what's around you, you should treat it with great reverence and great respect, because you're living in the kingdom of heaven. Like you think that you're just in your bedroom, right? But this is like, oh, that's the boss. Like around you is the boss. The boss is
that's God.
Right. That's
God
like
is everywhere.
of God. Right.
Yeah.
Just like get down on your knees, buddy. Like but also don't do that all the time because you'll never get anything done. And the subconscious knows that you've got to
no. Do it all the time. Do it all the time, but do it right. And
well, don't let it debilitate
practice
you.
it.
I'd say don't let it fully debilitate you, because then like
it's
useless to
like
everything.
remember to survive. Yeah. It's really important.
Well, it's like the consciousness needs some respect for itself as well. Like the consciousness isn't nothing either.
Yeah.
So it needs its own space. It needs like nice food. It needs nice things to feel good about itself, to keep doing the thing that the consciousness does, to take care of the greater subconscious system. But look around you, treat it with respect. And that's one version of right relationship between conscious and subconscious.
Yeah, I really like that one.
That's every time I say it, I'm like, oh my God, I just
powerful. Like your subconscious is God. And so like when you look around and you live your life and you live a godly life, you're honoring your subconscious. And so your subconscious just shuts the fuck up and does whatever you want, because like,
well, and it keeps bringing good things to you. If your consciousness is doing well, like it will keep delivering,
because it really likes you.
Yeah,
it's good.
You're in right relationship with it. You as the consciousness is in right relationship with your subconscious.
Yeah.
If bad things are, in quote, bad things are happening, there's probably big question marks you should be asking about. Why am I not in right relationship?
And I think like the question you're asked, like it seems like a simple question, but I think like in a way all religion is trying to answer that question.
Yes,
it's trying to say this is how you relate to your subconscious.
I think they're like a historic psychotechnology for right relating to our own experience.
Yeah.